I'm asking you now, are there relationships in your life right now that even if you just have a feeling, even if you don't know for certain, you just have a feeling that this relationship is the reason why I am still stuck? It's the reason why I am still stuck. Another reason can be peacekeeping. Peacekeeping. I just want to keep my peace, and so that is why we are separating. Sometimes separation is your next step to promotion. Sometimes it's necessary for your promotion. There are many people who often see separation as rejection. They see it as failure. They see it as disloyalty. My friend, there is a blessing in separation sometimes. Sometimes there is a blessing in separation. There was a time in my life when I lived in constant defeat. I mean, if losing was a person, it was this guy here. And that's because I really thought that life was all about effort. I thought if you try harder, if you push harder, if you pray a little more, then things will begin to happen for you and doors will open. But what I didn't understand was this concept of favor with God and favor with people. You see, the Bible says that Jesus grew in stature and in favor with God and favor with people. And in that season of my life, I had to learn that there are principles and systems that we engage in order to unlock this favor with God and favor with people. It is not random. And the book I wish I could have read at that time is the book that I had to write myself. It is Unlocking Favor with God and People. It is a 30-day devotional that is written in very simple fashion, which is how I prefer to read books. So if you go to pologoglobal.com or Amazon, if you are anywhere else outside of South Africa, you'll be able to get yourself a copy of this book, gifted to a loved one as well. I promise you it is worth the read. God bless you, my friend. Have you ever had somebody break up with you or a relationship end in any kind of way, and all of a sudden your life begins to fall in place? I mean, doors open, things begin to move, progress is made as soon as they left. And this is where some people might say, I think the so-and-so was bewitching me. It's not really that, though. Maybe the problem is that there was a misalignment and there was a blessing in that separation. My friend, that's what we're talking about in this episode of Align with Bologo. You know that this is where faith becomes practical, and this is where personal transformation takes priority to mere religious talk. And in today's session, I want us to talk about the blessing of separation, because there is a blessing in separation. There is a benefit in separation. So there are times when a relationship is due for separation. Now, I want you to get me from the very beginning. I'm not saying that this is true for all the relationships in your life. I'm not saying that everyone you know at some point you have to leave them or they have to leave you. This does not necessarily apply to every single relationship, but there are relationships in our lives that this applies to. Are there some people in your life that you are keeping there simply because you are more afraid of separation than you are of a life that doesn't have peace, a life that doesn't have progress? Let me put this in a little more blunt fashion. There are people who fear separation more than they value peace. There are people who fear separation more than they value peace. And so you would rather stay in places where you are not supposed to be simply because you are just so afraid of separation. Sometimes it's because we grew up together, we've been through a lot together. They were there for me when I needed them, and I was there for them when they needed me. Listen to me. One of the biggest disadvantages to a lot of people is sentiment. Sentiment will keep you in places where you were not supposed to be, places that you have outgrown. And sometimes it so happens that you have outgrown a relationship, you have outgrown a person, you have outgrown a certain place, and there is a blessing in separation. In the Bible, we see this through a man called Abraham and his nephew Lot. Very interesting scenario that we see in Genesis 13, where both of them had left on their mission to fulfill Abraham's vision when God said to him, "Go to the land that I will show you." And on their journey, both of them left with their possessions. And as they journeyed, it says that both of them began to grow in wealth. Lot's wealth was growing, Abraham's wealth was growing. And it is at this point where the land that they were on was no longer big enough to occupy both of them. And so their herders started fighting among each other. And all of that quarreling was simply because both of them had grown so much that there wasn't enough room on the land to contain both of them. And then Abraham came up with a solution. Abraham comes up with a solution saying in Genesis chapter 13, from verse 8, it says, "So Abraham said to Lot, 'Let's not have any quarreling between you and me, or between your herders and mine, for we are close relatives. Is not the whole land before you? Let's part company. If you go to the left, I'll go to the right. If you go to the right, I'll go to the left.'" Abraham's solution to the problem that they have is separation. His solution to where they are right now is not to say, "Let's sit down with somebody." It's not to say, "Let's try again." He says, we need to go our separate ways. In their case, that's the only way that they would preserve their relationship. Kind of like how some of us might be in a place where you've been living at home for so long, and when the time came for you to leave, you got so frustrated that there was a fight every single day. Every single day it was a fight, because you are a man living under the roof of another man who still sees you as a little boy, because you're a little boy to him. And so every day, back and forth. And the only way that you can save that relationship is by leaving, so that holidays can be amazing again. Right? So that you can miss them and you can reflect on how much you love them again. Abram comes up with a solution. He says, "You go left, I'll go right. If you choose to go right, I'll go left. We need to separate. That's the only way we save our relationship." It says in verse 10, "Lot looked around and saw that the whole plain of the Jordan towards Zoar was well watered, like the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt." This was before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. So Lot chose for himself the whole plain of the Jordan and set out toward the east. The two men parted company. Abram lived in the land of Canaan, while Lot lived among the cities of the plain and pitched his tents near Sodom. Now the people of Sodom were wicked and were sinning greatly against the Lord. Now that's a different detail that will be for another story. But it says, "The Lord said to Abram after Lot had parted from him, 'Look around from where you are, to the north and to the south, to the east and west. All the land that you see, I will give to you and your offspring forever. I will make your offspring like the dust of the earth, so that if anyone could count the dust, then your offspring could be counted. Go, walk through the length and breadth of the land, for I am giving it to you.'" So Abram went to live near the great trees of Mamre at Hebron, where he pitched his tents. Then he built an altar to the Lord. After they separate, God then says to Abram, "Look up, expand your horizon. As far as your eyes can see, I will give that to you. Go and walk the land, for I have given it to you." But the blessing comes after the separation. There was no room for growth in that place of quarreling. There was no room for growth in that place of frustration. The only solution was separation. Now, I say this understanding that in Abram's case, this was a solution to saving his relationship with his family member, with his nephew. For some of us, it's relationships that we don't even need to save. We just need to leave. It's the only way that you will save your peace of mind. It's the only way that you will save your sanity. It is the only way that you can honor your future self, by leaving. Separation is the only way that you can honor the calling of God on your life. If you stay there, you know. And no one has to convince you. You know that you're not going anywhere. I remember when I still used to do high school ministry, I would go to these high schools and preach, and oftentimes there would be these high school students who would come to me, and some of them really well-meaning. As you know, in high school, you don't want to be seen trying too hard. So they would often come to me in secret after I would speak to them, and there was one particular guy who said to me one day, "I really believe that I can become all that you said God has called us to become. But the problem is the friends I have. Man, these friends are holding me back." And I said to him, "I hear you. Let me ask you a question about your friends. Where do you think your friends are going in life? Where do you think they're going to end up? When you look 10 years into the future, based on the way they're living now, where do you think they're going?" And he said, I don't believe they're going very far. He said, I don't see them going very far in life. I said, "So what makes you think that you can become anything other than what you are surrounded by? What makes you think that you are so different?" Because you see, my friend, the Bible says in Amos chapter 3, verse 3, "Can two people walk together without agreeing on a direction?" It's a rhetorical question. Two people cannot walk together without agreeing on a direction. If you and I are holding hands and walking together, we are walking in the same direction. We cannot hold hands and walk in separate directions. We will separate. We cannot hold hands and go towards two different destinies. We will separate at some point along the way. And I say this to young people all the time when they reach out to me and they say, but the friends I have. I say, you walk away from those ones and automatically you will find yourself walking with the right ones. That's generally the way that life works. You find yourself just walking. All of a sudden there is somebody walking next to you. "Oh, are you going to the same place? All right, let's walk together then." Right? Because the person that I used to walk with is no longer next to me. I was just walking. I was focused on my calling. I was focused on my destiny. And as I kept on walking in this direction, I looked up one day and the person who used to be next to me was no longer there. My friend, there is a blessing in separation sometimes. Sometimes there is a blessing in separation. Now, here's the unfortunate reality. There are many people who often see separation as rejection. They see it as failure. They see it as disloyalty, or they see it as conflict. But can I tell you something? Rejection does not have to be the reason for separation. Listen, some failure does not have to be a reason for separation. Disloyalty does not have to be your reason for separation. Sometimes your reason for separation is simply just preservation. Sometimes you say, I need to go my own way. We need to go our separate ways because I need to preserve my peace. I need to preserve my destiny. I need to preserve my peace of mind. And that's why we're going our separate ways. Sometimes separation is because of protection. Sometimes your reason is simply protection. I need to protect myself. If I'm being honest, if I keep hanging out with you, we're both going to jail. If I keep hanging out with you, we're both going to end up beaten. I need to protect myself and go my separate way. Sometimes it's protection. Sometimes separation is for the sake of promotion. Some of you find yourselves in a relationship with an employer that needs to end right now. You find yourself in a place where you have been working in this place for the past 10 years. stuck in the same place. And you keep asking God, why, God, have you kept me here? But in reality, you have stayed there. It's time for you to get up and leave. It is time for you to get up and move. Sometimes separation is your next step to promotion. Sometimes it's necessary for your promotion. Another reason can be peacekeeping. Peacekeeping. I just want to keep my peace, and so that is why we are separating. One of the clearest biblical examples of healthy separation is in this picture between Abram and Lot. Because many of us would think that there has to be something wrong. But for Abram, it was for something right. It was for something right. We need to preserve our relationship as family. I'll tell you right now, personally, I had to leave home to preserve my relationship with my family. I had to leave home. For as long as I was home, I was always upset. I was always unhappy. And so it was necessary for me to leave so that I could preserve that relationship. Because like I said to you in the beginning, here's a man who's trying to be a man under the roof of another man, trying to live by his own terms under the roof of another man. Come on. What do you mean you want to live by your own terms under the roof of another man? Get out, leave. Just leave. Right? So as soon as he leaves, we see that blessing, we see that multiplication, we see that acceleration. And so I'm asking you now, are there relationships in your life right now that even if you just have a feeling, even if you don't know for certain, you just have a feeling that this relationship is the reason why I am still stuck? It's the reason why I am still stuck. Maybe that relationship serves as a distraction in your life. Whatever is happening, whatever you try to focus on, whatever you try to do, here is this guy coming up with a distraction. And they mean well. They really mean well. It's just that they know how to call just before you focus on studying, just before you open your books. When you sit down and you say, I'm locked in now. Here they call. Here they call. Just before you say, okay, now I'm going to save my money. I have a goal. I have something to accomplish. Here they call. Right? So understand that sometimes conflict doesn't necessarily have to be evil. Sometimes people don't fight you because they're evil. There are times when conflict reveals certain things. And sometimes conflict reveals capacity limitations. And you can write that down for yourself. Sometimes conflict reveals capacity limitations. You have reached your capacity. For Abram and Lot, what happened was the land could not contain them both. And so they had to go their separate ways. The conflict was a sign that we have come to the end of our capacity. We need to go our separate ways so we can increase. Conflict can reveal vision differences. It can reveal vision differences. Oftentimes you see this in business. Two people who are trying to start a business together or grow a business together, and you find that both of them have this entrepreneurial knack, and both of them got into this because they had their own personal visions, and along the way they find that they are failing to reconcile their visions. Their visions just cannot come together. And they have to go their separate ways so that their two different visions can be fulfilled. And for as long as they are together, not even one of those visions will be fulfilled because their relationship will be marked by conflict, endless frustration, and you cannot build anything in that place. So sometimes that frustration just reveals the fact that we just have two different visions for our lives. You can see this in a couple that wants to get married. Constant conflict. And you realize that, I thought we're just having fun. You want to have a family. Well, okay, I guess I want to go be a missionary, right? I'm not really in this for a family. You have to go our separate ways. Sometimes conflict can reveal resource pressure. It can reveal resource pressure. And this simply just means that there are times when you find yourself in a place where conflict is endless. Now, for example, somebody could be in a job right now that does not provide enough for them to take care of themselves. Every day you show up, they're ready to fight somebody. You are just ready to fight somebody because they don't pay you enough and they still get on your nerves at the end of the day. Sometimes conflict can reveal directional tension. I can feel that this tension between us is because we're going in different directions. This tension between us is because we want very different things in life. We are marching in different directions. I'm going to let you go so that you can flourish. And that is why as soon as they walk out of your life, as soon as you walk out of their lives, everybody starts flourishing. Everybody. And by the way, let me tell you this before you say, it was him who was holding me back. That's why I started even glowing after he left. I'll tell you something. Chances are he also started glowing and winning. Now I know, listen, you might be saying, no, not mine. Mine went on to suffer. That's fine. It's not about you. But the point is, there are times when both of us go our separate ways and both of us just start doing better. My friend, there is a blessing in separation when it is due. This is another episode of Align, and I'll see you on the next one. God bless you.